Jesse Draper, the Valley Girl. What does your company do? Have you ever Googled yourself?
Totally.
What makes a great entrepreneur? What's your next big idea? Tweeting's like my favorite. Let's talk business.
I'm like the Valley Girl.
Justice Sandra Day O'Connor was the very first female Supreme Court Justice of the United States of America. She was appointed under President Ronald Reagan, and she is definitely a rockin' woman. Well, here we are with Justice O'Connor. I am just honored to even be in your presence. You are a huge hero of mine.
Well, thank you, Jesse. It's nice to be with you. Thank you for doing the interview.
Now, tell me a little about your background. Did you, I'm sure you didn't wake up one morning and think, I want to be the first female Supreme Court Justice.
Oh, heavens, no.
Or did you?
No, my word, no. I grew up as the daughter of people on a cattle ranch in Arizona and New Mexico. It was very remote. My parents married, and my mother had to move out to this, some people would say, God-forsaken place. It had no indoor plumbing, no running water, no electricity, no nothing. I mean, it was 35 miles from the nearest town over poor dirt roads.
Wow.
When my mother decided she would marry my father, her mother was quite disturbed because she didn't want her gorgeous daughter moving out into such a God-forsaken place, is what my grandmother thought. And she was very upset about it. So she had one piece of advice for my mother.
And what was that?
Now, Ada Mae, don't ever learn to milk the cow. So, my mother said she never did. We did keep a milk cow or two always. And my mother said she never milked it, so it's all right.
Did you ever milk a cow?
Well, I tried. It's hard, actually.
I'm going to have to try to do that sometime.
Well, I don't think you need to. You're headed in another direction. I went to a private girls' school in El Paso, Miss Radford School for Girls.
Okay.
Then I went to a public high school in El Paso, because by that time I realized there were boys and might be fun to date sometimes. So
oh, definitely.
Anyway, I went to the public high school. Well, yeah, if I had a chance. I went out a few times. And then it was time to apply for college or university. So I only applied to one school, and that was Stanford in California.
I noticed you're wearing a Stanford color right now.
Stanford red, absolutely. Majored in economics, and I actually finished my major's requirements in 3 years. And while I was an undergraduate at Stanford,
3 years?
yeah,
High five.
I took
Good job.
I took a class as an undergraduate from a fabulous law professor. He was so inspiring, and because of that class, I decided, well, I have next year I don't know what I'm going to take. Why don't I apply to law school and see if I can get in? So I did, and the law school at Stanford took me.
Now, something that I thought was really interesting, I heard that it was really difficult for you to get a job as a lawyer.
It was impossible. Now, I did very well in law school. I had fine grades, way up the top, and so I thought that would be fine, and I had met my husband-to-be, John O'Connor, at Stanford. He was a year behind me in law school, and we had decided we should get married. But he hadn't graduated yet, and we both liked to eat, and that meant one of us had to work.
I like to eat too.
Yeah, me too. And that meant one of us had to work, and that was me. So when I got out of law school, I thought, well, I'll get a job, and we'll be all right. We'll live on what I earn as a lawyer and go ahead and get married in December. And there were notices on the placement bulletin board at Stanford saying, Stanford law graduates, call us. We want to talk to you about work. And this was from all the big law firms in California. I called every single number on the bulletin board. It was about 40.
Oh my gosh.
Not a single firm would give me an interview. Not even an interview. And here I was, kind of at the top of the class, and they said, oh, well, we don't hire women. I learned that the county attorney in San Mateo County had once had a woman lawyer on his staff. So I wrote him and made an appointment to see him, and he agreed to see me. And I went to Redwood City and met with the county attorney, Louis D. Mateus, and looked at my record. "Oh, Miss Day, you have a fine record here, Miss Day." He said, "Yes, I did have a woman lawyer here, and she did well. I'd be happy to have another one. But Miss Day, I get my money from the County Board of Supervisors. I'm not funded to hire another deputy. I just don't have the money to do it." He said, "I'm so sorry, you'd be fine." So I wrote him a long letter, went back to the Lazy Bee Ranch to plan for the wedding, wrote him a long letter and told him all the things I thought I could do for him if he were to hire me. And I said, "I know you don't have any money, but I'll work for you for nothing until such time as you get a little money." And I said, "I know you don't have an empty office because you showed me around, but I met your secretary, and there's room in her office for a second desk if she doesn't object."
Oh my gosh.
Now that was my first job as a lawyer. No money, no salary, and I put my desk in with the secretary. But he took me on that way.
And you made that happen. You really...
Well, I needed work.
Yeah.
So I loved my job. It was so interesting. I was in the civil side, not the criminal. And I got all these great little legal questions from different county boards, commissions, and officials. I was having a better time than all my law school classmates, the men who all had good paying jobs in the law firms. But they were just taking depositions and doing research, and I was doing real work, so I loved my job. At that time, the county attorney was appointed county judge. There was a vacancy. And all of a sudden, there was a little room in the budget to pay something for my salary. John had graduated from law school, and he took the bar and passed, and he got a little job right away in San Francisco. One day, we were going to drive up to Washington, D.C. and look around. I had never been to Washington, D.C. And we got there, and I said, "You know, I'd love to take a look at the U.S. Supreme Court." And so we found it somehow on the map and got up to the hill and parked on Capitol Hill someplace. We walked up the big steps to the Supreme Court entrance, and it was closed because it was Saturday, so we couldn't get in.
Darn it.
And we said, "Well, this is great. Of course, that's probably the closest I'll ever get to the Supreme Court is today." My husband found this wonderful old law firm, and they offered him a job. And he went on and interviewed in San Francisco as well, and Los Angeles and California areas. But the one he really liked was the one in Phoenix, and so he decided to take that offer. And we moved to Phoenix. And it turned out that William Rehnquist and his wife Nan, who had been my classmate in law school, moved to Phoenix to practice law. He became our Chief Justice, you know, at the Supreme Court.
Right.
And so we knew him, and we knew a couple of other lawyers in Phoenix who were there. I went around and talked to the major law firms in the Phoenix area.
And were they
Not
more
one
open
of them
to...
would hire a woman.
Still?
I opened a little law office with one partner, a fellow I'd met when I was studying for the bar exam. We just hung out a shingle in Maryvale, Arizona, and got what we could get, which wasn't much. It was, you know, divorces and collection work and that kind of thing.
I think it's so amazing that you had such a hard time, you know, finding a job as a lawyer.
Well, it wasn't just me, it was any woman lawyer at the time. That was the deal. And you didn't have much offer. And I ended up being active in the Republican Party in Arizona, as John was, and we would carry petitions for people running for office like Barry Goldwater and a few people like that. And then in time, I went to work for the Attorney General of Arizona as a deputy. My first good job as a lawyer.
Your first good job.
And I loved it. It was just marvelous. So then I ended up being appointed to a vacancy in the Arizona State Senate in my district. There was a vacancy, and I was appointed. And I served there in the legislature, and my colleagues elected me majority leader.
Wow.
Which was a shock. I didn't know they wanted to do that or would. I didn't ask for it.
I think it means they liked you.
I didn't ask for it. And that was kind of amazing. And it was the first time in the United States that a woman held a legislative leadership post. That was a number
know.
one.
That's incredible.
And in the meantime, we had somebody running for president of the United States, and his name was Ronald Reagan. Well, he did pretty well. He got himself elected.
He did.
But he was worried about it because he thought women weren't responding enough. One of the things he would say is, now if I'm elected president, if I get a chance, I'd like to put a qualified woman on the Supreme Court. And so my name ended up on his list, and I must have passed muster because I got a phone call from President Reagan saying, Sandra, I'd like to announce your nomination on Monday for the U.S. Supreme Court. That all right with you?
Oh my gosh.
Well, I didn't know what to say because it actually wasn't. I had no wish to go to Washington, D.C. Being on the Supreme Court had never been on my horizon because I thought it was totally unrealistic. And there I was with an offer. And I did not want to do something that I couldn't do well. I mean, it's all right to be the first, but you don't want to be the last. And if I took that job and messed it up, it would be the last time.
Now, I want to make sure we talk about iCivics.org.
All right. I learned that half of the states in the United States no longer require young people, high school and younger, to take civics. They don't make it a requirement.
That's ridiculous.
And we
How are
learned
people
that
going to know about
they
their
don't.
government?
They can't. They don't. And a great majority cannot even name the 3 branches of government. They don't know what they are.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, we are in a pathetic state of affairs. So I thought maybe I could participate with others to create a website to try to be so fun and attractive that young people would do it and learn something. We engaged Jim G to start with a game that young people could play on the website.
Because people like playing games.
Young people today spend, on the average, 40 hours a week in front of a screen, whether it's TV or computer. Combined, 40 hours. I just need 1 hour. I don't need 40. And so we started developing these games that are just dynamite, and they teach. While you're playing the game, you're learning.
Yeah, I've played
And the
around
kids
a little.
love
And
it. Have
really
you tuned in?
Yeah, I've tuned in.
Aren't they fun?
They are very fun.
I know.
I
And so
really
you
like them.
learn in the process. And I am trying to educate several generations of young people about how our government works and how they can be part of it.
I think that
And
is
I
such
now
a great
have chair
idea.
people in all 50 states.
Oh my goodness.
And we're trying to get all the schools in all 50 states to be aware of it and use it. It's free.
So everyone sign up.
Sign up,
iCivics.org.
go look. It's www.I, little I, not capital I, little I, civics.org. And it's fabulous, and the games are wonderful and free of charge, so no excuse for not getting your schools to use it.
Well, I think that's so great you did that because it really is, I think it really is true. I feel like I don't know enough about civics.
Well, you better play all the games.
I
Now,
know.
that's an assignment for you.
Okay.
When you go back, you play all the games. There's 16 on there now, and I want you to play them
I'm going to
all.
play all 16. I'll
Right.
write you a report.
Right, and I want a report.
I'll write you a report. What advice would you pass down, to women who want to follow their passion as far as career goes?
My goal always as a young person and still today is to work at work worth doing. I take it you feel the same way or you wouldn't be
Definitely.
doing what you're doing.
I definitely
But that was
feel
my
that way.
hope in life, and it still is.
I like that, work worth doing.
Yes,
I think that's a really great piece of advice.
thank you.
Well, Justice O'Connor, this was so nice having you. I really thank you or you're having me actually, because
Nice
I'm
to
in your
meet with you,
house.
Jesse.
I'm like the Valley Girl, and this is Justice O'Connor. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
It was nice to be on your
Thank you.
show.
I really appreciate you
Thank
being on
you.
my show. You have such an incredible story.
Thank you.